answering the question on why Extrema points are better to have. It's something that font programs all want you to have, is kind of one of the main points of why you want your points at the Extrema. If you don't have them, like on this P, it's putting the red dots where they are not. But more importantly, the Extrema points help all programs that display vector objects. It helps those programs show the curves properly, like they're meant to be shown. Sometimes if you have funky points in weird places, or if you have handles that kind of go way off into the nothing, some programs don't quite know what to do with those. But all programs that display vector objects, and the characters of a font are essentially just vector objects, like a shape you would draw in Adobe Illustrator. So all programs that know how to display vector objects understand Extrema points the best. They make the most sense because they are at the exact outsides, they're dictating the shape. So while you can have a font that doesn't have points at the Extrema and it'll still work perfectly well, sometimes it may display a little bit weird and you're not quite sure why. And that might be because the points are in a place that it just doesn't quite understand. My pleasure to answer. So you'll see on some of these letters, I'm double clicking to pop in and out of the view with the points and nodes, and then back to the view without. I find that it's a little harder to see my curves really well when all the points are there. So I go out of that view so I can really look at the shape of the curves, just to make sure there aren't any funky bumpy spots. The question, what do you think of the Font Self Illustrator plugin? You know, I got it a long time ago when Font Self was brand new, and it didn't have all the features I needed then, and I really haven't used it a lot since then. I should give that another try, because I keep getting emails from them saying, hey, we've added this feature, we've added that feature, it's got better kerning. I mean, it didn't even have kerning when it was new, so it really couldn't have been used to make anything that you could sell. So yeah, I definitely plan on getting into it again, but I haven't had a chance yet. Okay, so Colette Barton asks, would love to see the initial process of adding your total number of characters. The thing is, I kind of cheat because I only did it once. And then I can open. I have a couple of pre-made files here. One, base regular, that is what I will use for any fonts that have uppercase and lowercase. And then base caps, and that's the one I'll use when it's an all uppercase in both character sets font like this one. And so what I did was I just took the time and loaded in all of the characters I wanted to do, including the full basic Latin set. There's 95 characters in that, and I think every font should always have all 95 characters of basic Latin. That's going to cover pretty much every key on your keyboard, including weird ones like the grave key, the accent grave. It's right to the left of your number 1 key, and the tilde key is also on that same key next to your number 1. But so yeah, basic Latin takes care of the English-speaking keyboard. I do everything in Latin 1 supplement. This is basically going to take care of European languages, and also the English language has a lot of these marks from words that are borrowed from other languages. So you've got a lot of accent marks, multiplication, the German double S, the O with the slash is used in, I'm tempted to say it's Swedish, Danish, Finnish, Norwegian, and I think you see the A with the ring in at least some of those languages as well. What else? I do a whole bunch of Latin Extended A and Latin Extended B and Latin Extended Additional, just to try to cover as many of the Eastern European languages as I can. For general punctuation, you want your quotation marks. These are your curly quotes. There are also in basic Latin what are called straight quotes. And a font should always have both straight quotes and curly quotes. They're used in different situations. So you're going to have a single and a double straight up and down, and then singles and doubles that kind of curve around what you're writing. Some currency symbols. I've started doing Bitcoin and everything because it's really easy. You just take your little up and down lines from your dollar sign and add them to the letter B, and boom, Bitcoin. Trademark. I have 1/3 and 2/3 because there are a lot of people who like to write recipes and they don't have. Latin 1 supplement contains 1/4, 1/2, and 3/4, but nobody ever includes the thirds, so I like having 1/3 and 2/3 in there. I added in arrows going in each direction. A couple of font shops require you to have these characters. I don't think I've ever used almost equal to, but some font shops say you have to have that in your font. So some of these things are in there because of that. Lozenge, I just like the shape. Miscellaneous symbols. I try to do a heart and a smiley face whenever I can. There's some dingbats. You can't see the previews, but check mark, heavy check mark. It's basically a check for yes and an X for no on these guys. So it's I try to get everything in there I can without going totally overboard, because oh my goodness, you could put 2,000 characters in there. Oh, Math Mistress, of course you've used almost equal to. That makes perfect sense because of the math. All right, I'm going to back up on questions here. Math Mistress asks, how long does it take you to make a font from start to finish? Totally depends. I think my longest time is about 9 months from the very start to the very finish, but of course I wasn't working on that one that entire time. I would it was one of those ones where you kind of had to think about, what do I really want to do with this? What do I really want it to look like? And so I'd set it aside and work on something else and then come back to it. But then there are some other fonts. I mean, I have a font that's named 20 minutes. It took 20 minutes to make. I actually did some updates to it, so now it's probably all told up to about 35 minutes. But that's all it takes. It's not going to be the best quality font. I give 20 minutes away for free. I don't think it's good enough to sell. But if quality is not important to you, then that's all you really need. Let's see. Is there a font type you feel is best? Do you go in creating fonts you like or aim for what the crowd might like? I've gone both directions on that. I find I'm the happiest making the weird stuff I want to make. Like this font I'm working on right here is strange and blobby and lumpy and inconsistent, and I love it. This is the kind of stuff that I really enjoy. A couple of my personal favorite fonts that I've made are Raisin Rage and Chaotic Neutral. And those are both really weird fonts. They don't necessarily sell all that well, but I love them. I do try to make stuff that I think is going to succeed, like breakfast pastry I made because I knew there was a need for kind of decorative fonts for the holiday season, winter fonts. And I thought, well, what's something I can do to suit that need but would still be fun for me to make? And that's how breakfast pastry came to be. I don't feel like that's long enough, but it's getting kind of weird. Let's take a look. So sometimes I will move the letter over. This is going to go off screen a little bit here. So I can see, I can take a look over here and see how it looks small and filled in with black. And yeah, I feel like this, it needs to be a little heavier, that stroke on the Q. So I'm going to widen it a little bit here and widen it a little bit here. And I'm going to add a couple extra handles so that I can kind of make this a little fatter. Yeah, I'm going to need a point there. I know it. It's giving me my little red warning dot saying, hey, you've got an Extrema point. Don't you want to put a node there? Yeah, go ahead. Put a node there. Weird and square and funky. There we go. But you know, so looking at this, the top part of this stroke, oops, haha, the top part of this stroke kind of goes downward, and then the bottom part kind of angles to the right a little bit. So I'm gonna nudge this over. And then I'm going to take this whole part and nudge that over. Now when I drew that stroke, I drew it straight through with one pen stroke. So technically it is one stroke. It just doesn't look like it. And a big part of making fonts is actually adjusting things so that they're not necessarily physically perfect, mathematically perfect, math mistress, but that they look good to the eye, which is, it's tough sometimes when you're like, oh, but I know that's straight, that's exactly straight, but it just doesn't look straight. All right, Q, R. All right, on this R, I feel like its tips are a little thin. So I am going to fatten those first. Yeah, centering things, making things even, it is. The struggle is real. All right, I'm going to move you up to make your curve a little more round. I bet there's a handle hiding right in there. Yes. But then you're uneven there. There you go. Get rid of you. Move you over. Move you up. This is still kind of blocky and square, so we're going to break these two guys apart so they each have their own handle. And we're going to nudge. Right, yeah, so things being centered drives me nuts. Like when I'm making promo images for a font, and I know that the text that I've laid out is centered, and you look at it and it's like, oh, but it looks a little off to the right or off to the left, and it makes me crazy that it's like, well, maybe I can't trust my eyes, but no, with stuff like this that's visual, you have to trust your eyes. Your eyes are the only gauge. You can't trust the math. And I hate not trusting the math. Again here, I'm using my arrow keys for all these fine adjustments. If you just hit the arrow key alone, an item will move 10 units of space. If you hold down Control and hit the arrow key, it'll move 1 unit of space. And if you hold down Shift with the arrow key, it'll move 100 units of space. So here I'll hold down Shift, pew, and then a few sets of 10. This curve is gonna be weird. Let's take a look here. Yeah, I feel like it's really sharp here and flat through here. I am gonna add another node. It's a really long stretch. Actually, I'm gonna add a handle. True type curves differ from PostScript curves in that you can have handles that are connected to other handles. As opposed to when you're doing PostScript curves, every node has 2 handles, one sticking off either side, and that's it. If you want more, oh. That was a cat running across my desk, being chased by another cat, and hit the delete key. Thank you, kitty. Now we're gonna hear some growling. I don't know if you'll be able to hear that. This is taking longer than usual for each letter because I'm talking at the same time. And it is the intruding cat. It's my orange cat, Cheddar. And she is growling at Flapjack because Flapjack wants to play, and Cheddar is not always in the mood to play. Where are you going, Cheese? You gonna pass on pie? You gonna sniff the microphone? Head on over there. Scoot, scoot. Yeah, so normally it's less time per letter, but it's not necessarily a huge amount less time per letter. But yeah, if I'm not talking at the same time, it does go faster. I'm easily distracted by the shiny object of talking. Growling cats. Urgh. But yeah, if I didn't care about reducing the nodes and going super clean, I could make fonts a lot faster. But they wouldn't be my fonts, you know what I'm saying? How do I feel about the quick font designers who make a font almost every day? If that's what they want to make, and if that's what they want to sell, that it's fine. It may result in fewer sales overall in the future, because I know that generally I've had a lot of people say, hey, I know that when I buy one of your fonts, it's always going to be cleaned up and smooth and ready to go, and if I'm going to use it to make vector files or whatever, it's not going to take a lot of extra cleanup. Now, that's not to say, I do have some fonts that do need a lot of extra cleanup, especially some of my earlier stuff, where I really didn't even know what Silhouette and Cricut machines were. I'm like, oh, fonts, people just use those for print, right? But yeah, I mean, you know, if you're okay with the quality of your work, if it's where you want it to be, then it's all good, I say. That's a weird S. I like it. Weird, though. And remember, these are all alternates. These are not the main letters of the font. A lot of people who use this font in the future are not even going to know that these are here. But I'm still putting the same work into them as the main characters of the font. Do I freehand letters or use a Times New Roman template to trace for guidelines? Ha ha ha. Good question. Very good question. Let me pause on the T here for a moment, and I'm going to pull up. Let me get into my folders, my guides. Where are they? There they are. I have made for my own use. Let's see. Open up this JPEG. This is a grid of letters perfectly sized for Procreate on my iPad. And so I'll usually bring this in to Procreate. Even if the letters I'm drawing are in a completely different style, this at least gives me a general idea of the height that letters should be, the width that letters should be. Of course, I could go crazy off, and you know, like with this font I'm working on, these letters are not all the same height, they're not all the same width, but this gives me an idea of roughly the shape they should be. It lets me keep consistent sizing as I go through the alphabet, and it also makes sure that I get in a lot of the weird characters that I might otherwise forget. Like, you know, I'm not always going to think, oh, I should do the cent sign. Oh, I got to remember to do euro. Oh, I should do section or paragraph. And many's the time when I've made a set of letters and I get to building the font and I'm like, oh shoot, I totally forgot to do that one letter. And since time has passed, I don't necessarily remember. I'm going to turn the music down. I feel like it's kind of loud. I get to the point and I'm like, well, I don't remember what brush I used or anything like that. Yes, I've just amped the music down significantly. I had it up high because I wasn't talking at the beginning here. Yes, the question, do you draw all the characters in one setting? Yeah, I try to as much as I can, because that way they're all going to have a more uniform look to them. Math Mistress hates the letters S and C. They never look right. They are tough. S is a bear. I will readily admit that. The way it, I think the hardest thing about the S is the way it switches back. You know, at least with a C, you've got just one curve kind of going one way, and with the S, you have to have like a clockwise curve and then a counterclockwise curve. Yeah, S. Hate it. Hate S. Why do I have to have two in my name? I'm not entirely sure about this T because I feel like the right side is way longer than the left side, which may be kind of cool if I can kind of snuggle other letters in under it. I'll have to think about that one. But that's the nice thing. This is still very early days on this font. I've been doing cleanup for 3 days now, but yesterday was really not a full day by any means, because I was trying to get used to streaming and get an understanding of how much I can talk and work at the same time, which, as it turns out, not a ton. Always, oh golly, yes. Always check the kerning. Unfortunately, some font shops, and Font Bundles is one, and I know they're working on this. Some font shops previewers do not show kerning. So everything will be wide and gappy, especially pairs like FO, FA, TA, TO, or uppercase A and V. Whether it's AV or VA, there should always be kerning on those. Colette asking, what are recommended styles included? Filled, bold, italic. I haven't messed with those settings in Font Creator. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Please, more info on the ask. Are you just talking about what types of fonts should be included in a family? Oh, you're not straight. Yes, okay. Yeah, there's no hard and fast rule. You could just do one font in a family and call it good. And sometimes I will do that if I'm not excited about it. And other times I'll finish the first member of a family, and I'll just look at it and be like, I don't want to say goodbye to this font yet. I'm having too much fun with it. It's bringing me too much joy. This is very weird, and I need to fix it. So I'll just make more members of the family. I'll do a thinner version. I'll do a heavier version. I might do an outline version. The nice thing about Font Creator is it does part of that work for you. And I think I can show you here. We'll just take, we'll take this letter U. And I'm going to go up here to the Glyph Transformer. And I have some preloaded transformations here. Outline. No, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to load outline. And okay, and what it did there was it took the character I had made and made an outline version. And so then all I would need to do is go in to each letter again and clean up anywhere that things got a little funky. And let's undo that so I get back to my regular U. But yeah, the Glyph Transformer it's an amazing set of tools, and it has a whole bunch of pre-made transformations. Like if you've got something light and you can thin it down to very light, or I think it'll automatically do your small caps for you, but I like doing my small caps by hand. But yeah, there's a ton of stuff in here, and I've made some of my own. I put a little underscore in front of all the ones that I wanted to keep. So normal to wide. Ooh, let's see what that does. Let's run that on this U. Ooh, gross and weird. A lot of them I made a setting specifically for a certain font that had a certain look, and then I was able to get the look I wanted, and so I kept the setting. But that was barfy. But let's do fat. Ooh, fat to lighter weight. Let's see what that does. and oh yeah, that really skinnied it out, then I would want to go in and do adjustments like on these very tippy points. They're a little too pointy. But yeah, you can totally go in and use that Glyph Transformer. And honestly, there's so many things you can adjust. I mean, you could rotate all the letters 180 degrees and have an upside down font. Why anyone would want that, I don't know, but you could do it. So yeah, there's a ton of good stuff in there. How am I feeling about this U? I feel weird. I feel like this stroke right here on the inside is just too straight and flat. I'm gonna move that over a little bit. Move you up. That's better. Yeah, I like that better. Scooch you over. Bada bing. V. No, bad. Move you back. You guys go straight up and down. Little space there. I feel like there's kind of a lump right here. How do you come up with the right and left bearings? So right now I'm putting in placeholders that are around 20 to 30 units of space on each side. When everything is done, then I'll go through this test mode and kind of look at how everything is sitting together. Like right here, I can see that there's not enough space on either side of this I. And that's either a matter of the I itself not having enough space, or it's a matter of the H not having enough space on its right side and the N not having enough space on its left side. So then what you can do some test strings. So I'm going to pull up the preview toolbar. Hey dorks. And what you can do is just type random text in here. And if this were a normal, ordinary sans serif that wasn't this crazy handwriting, you could do test strings of H and O. Because my H has part of that crossbar sticking off the side, I'm going to do NO. And so you can use this as a guide. You've got your N, which has straight up and down sides, and you've got your O, which has rounded sides. And you can kind of use those two to figure out almost everything else. So let's see, right now my N is at 20 and 22. That's kind of weird. Let's go 25 and 25. And my O is at 30 and 30. So then if we look up here, and we're going to look at how the N meets the O on both sides, and also how the N meets the N, and how the O meets the O. So looking at this, the two O's are a little too far apart, and the two N's are a little too close together. So let's actually bump our N up to 30 and 30. Close you out and get my O, and we're going to change the O to 20 and 20. And take a look up here now. So now it looks like everything is pretty even. The space between an N and an O is pretty consistent with the space between an N and an N and an O and an O. So what that has told me is for any letter that has a straight up and down side, I want that at 30. And any letter that has a curved side, I want that at 20. So then I could take the D and I could say, well, my straight up and down side is the left, that's 30. And my curved side is the right, so I want that to be 20. So yeah, I'm doing placeholder sizing right now, but then having discovered these numbers, and if I could make them larger numbers if I wanted everything spread further apart, I will actually go through everything in a second sweep and do all those adjustments for space. And that is a reason why I haven't actually created any of these accented characters yet, because they are going to feed from the main characters. So if I want to create the A with the grav, I can do complete composites, auto, and it's going to pull in the A and it's going to pull in the grav. And then it's just a matter of kind of fiddling around to get things where you want them. And you can do a bunch of those at once. I can click on one, hold down Shift, click on the rest of the row. And if I do complete composites auto, it's going to fill in all of those. So I usually do anywhere between 15 to 20 at a time. I will create the composites and then I'll go in one by one and do all my nudging, because there's always nudging. You can't count on it to automatically put everything in the perfect spot. So then I'll go through nudge, 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 saving as I go. And, but I want to hold off on that until all my letters are in their final form and all their spacing is in their final form. Because these aren't just pulling the letters, these are also pulling the spacing. So this A with the acute has left and side bearings of 25 because the main A has left and side bearings of 25. So I'm actually going to go in here and I'm going to remove the characters, everything that I moved in, because I'm going to redo these later once I have all my spacing down. And I'm just doing Control A to select everything and then delete key. Control A, delete. Control A, delete. Bada bing, bada boom. Will I be doing ligatures for this font? I think I will, at least a few. Mainly because I have a really tall T and a really tall L. And I know those aren't necessarily going to play nicely. And it really, even a regular font that doesn't look like it needs all that much, I still usually make at least a few ligatures, because there are always going to be spots where two letters look great with everyone else but not with each other. And in fact, Font Creator here, if you create a new, and I'm just gonna create a fake name here. Yay, thank you. It's a totally different microphone and headphone setup for sound. It's gonna give you, on any new font, it's automatically gonna give you FI and FL, which seems kind of weird, but almost always you're gonna need to shorten the top curve of your F so that it's not jammed into the tittle of the I, the dot, and so that it's not jammed into the L. So even for just a couple of combinations, yeah, you're going to want to make some ligatures. You know me, and you've seen my work, and you know that when I say some ligatures, I'm going to start by making 5, and then it's going to turn into 10, and then I'm going to be like, oh shoot, I could do these 20 others, and before I know it, I have 120 ligatures. And then I think I'm done, and I put them all in alphabetical order because I'm uptight that way. And I get everything encoded to the PUA so that everyone can use them in every program. And I think I'm almost done. And then I'm like, oh no, I want these other ligatures too. And then I either have to rearrange everything in the PUA, which is a giant pain in the tush, or they don't end up in alphabetical order, and it drives me crazy for the rest of my days. That is the Missy Myers story. All right, and so concludes this rant while I do the letter V. W! Oh, and that is, pointy bad. Who all's up here? Are there any other handles hiding? Oh, there were 2 points, one on top of each other. Sometimes you just gotta nudge things out of the way to see what's in there. I could zoom in too, if I wanted to. I mean, I could zoom in to 300%. But I have it set at 120 right now. Actually, I could zoom in more than this. I am going to go into Tools, Options, View, and I'm going to bump that up to 150. So now when I open any character, it'll automatically show it to me at 150%. If no one has any questions, can we talk about your experience on Jeopardy? Sure. Yeah, ask any questions you want about my experience on Jeopardy. It was a total bucket list item. It was an amazing experience. Even though I lost, it was a huge win just to make it on the show. I have a series of blog posts about it, but I've been trying to get on Jeopardy for about 20 years. I tried out for the college tournament back when I was in college, and off and on throughout the years I've tried. What do you want to know? What it's like to audition, what it's like to be there. How soft are Alex Trebek's hands? People have all sorts of different questions, so lay them on me. Oh, you're kind of funky. Meeting famous people. What, like Alex Trebek and Johnny Gilbert? We actually didn't really meet Alex. Being on TV, are you on Netflix? No, my show is not on Netflix. They're kind of being choosy about what they put on Netflix, and it's usually when someone has had a really big run. I know Buzzy's episodes are on there. Cindy, who passed away of brain cancer before her episodes aired, I believe her episodes are on there. So yeah, they're not doing everything on Netflix. They're just doing certain popular runs. I do have an IMDb page though, which is kind of hilarious for being on one episode of one TV show. So that's something I never thought I'd have. You don't really meet Alex. He comes up and stands behind you at one point. So that you can have your picture taken with him. And then he kind of shakes your hand and chats a little bit with the players after the game. But we did not meet Alex before the game. They are huge on keeping everything legal and safe and secure, and making sure that there's no impropriety of any kind, which I totally get. They have a group of lawyers there watching the game and making sure that everything is done according to the law. Since the quiz show scandals in the 50s, they really cracked down. That makes it extra funny when people will tell a contestant, well, I know they gave you the categories beforehand. It's like, no, that would be violating federal law. They're not going to do that. So I have a better chance of answering a question about my favorite sci-fi TV show. Sometimes the questions just suit you. Sometimes you just luck into a category that works. But yeah, nobody's sharing any information with the contestants beforehand. That's conspiracy theory is what that is. Oh, this is kind of lumpy up there. What gave me the final push to become a stay-at-home font maker and kick the everyday shift norm? Okay, so flashback to 2015. I was working a desk job at Walt Disney World. I was a talent casting coordinator. Our casting department did the casting for theatrical shows in the parks. We had the character casting department. And the job was fun. Don't get me wrong. The people I loved. I'm still friends with many of them to this day. But there wasn't anywhere for me to go. I did not want to become a manager. I've managed people in the past. If you're not aware of this, I'm actually almost 50 years old. I've worked many a job, and managing people is not something I really ever wanted to do again. I know it's the obvious next step in a lot of positions, and Disney was the same. That would be the next step, would be moving up to manager. So I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And so I was fortunate in that I was in a position where I could take a year off. My husband has been very successful in his own career. He is a sci-fi novelist. And so if I wanted to only work part-time for a year, I could. And so I decided, hey, I'm going to do that. I'm going to take an intensive graphic design 1-year course. Graphic design and stuff like that I've been doing for years, decades. I think I got my first Photoshop in like 2002 or 3. It's been a long time, but everything is self-taught for me. So I wanted to take the course and learn what I didn't know. And it was during taking that course that I rediscovered creating fonts. I had done a few in like 2002. I'd done a few more in 2010, 2011. Never really got serious about it, but doing the typography module in graphic design school really rejuvenated my love of fonts. And I started making them, and let's see, so I started taking the graphic design course in October 2015. I started making fonts in early 2016. And even though my first dozen or so fonts that I made, I give them away for free because I don't think they're that great. I was learning what I was doing. I was learning about the PUA. I was learning what makes a good font. So all the stuff where I was learning, those are all freebies. You can get them all on my website. But by June of 2016, I felt ready to start selling, and so I did start selling. The first font that I made available for sale was King Basil. And it actually had a different name at first. Someone convinced me to change the name, which I'm never going to do again, by the way. It was just too much of a grind to get everything changed everywhere in all the marketplaces. But yeah, middle of the year, 2016, I started selling fonts, and I just enjoyed making them so much, and I made so many of them that by the end of that year, I was making more doing fonts than I had been making in my day job at Disney. So it just happened. It was unexpected. I didn't think I would. I just hit it at the right time, I think is what it is. there was a growing need for that style of font. More people were starting to craft. People were getting Cricut machines every day. And I hit it at the right time. I was really lucky. You can say King Basil or King Basil. I never know which way to say it. The guy who convinced me to change the name of the font was like, I like the letters K and B. You should make something with those. And so I picked KB, King Basil. And yeah, no, I will never change a font name again, no matter how dorky my... And I think the problem was, Spiffy McGee was the original name. It's totally dorky. But I have learned to embrace that. So, you know, my fonts are always going to have weird, dorky names. And that's kind of how you know they're mine. You know, I'm usually not going to do a font called Elegant Samantha or what have you. Well, maybe I'll pull Spiffy McGee out of the archives for some other font someday. Math Mistress, I say it Zuki Squash. Probably some people say Zuki, but I'm a Zuki. I don't know if that's how you say it. Let me know. I'm going to backtrack. Colette Barton, you assume everyone else is the same age as you. So now I'm interested to know if I am the same age as you and if you assumed that. Oh, and you say Zuki Squash. Yeah, I think it's just where I'm from. I'm originally from Seattle. So I have that weird semi-Canadian way of saying a lot of things. Apparently. I have been asked many times if I'm from Canada. But no, just very near. Oh no, I feel like I'm in my late 20s sometimes. Not all the time. Not these days. But yeah, no, I am, my birthday's next month. I'll be 48. April 12th, it's an Easter birthday this year. Sometimes it falls that way. It was always very hard to have a birthday party as a kid because everyone was gone for spring break or they had stuff going on for Easter. This Z is weird and fat. I don't know. Ooh. Do I like it? I don't even know. I'm going to leave it for now. I'm zoomed in a little far. I'm going to zoom back out a little bit. Tools, options. Let's go to 130% when I open these up. Now, maybe his little Z nose there is just a little short. Yeah, I think I like that better. We're all pronouncing your fonts differently. Hey, you know what? I don't care. It's all good. All right, let's do 20 and 20 on you. Now, okay, this A, I hate. Yes, the Z has been eating quarantine snacks. Oh my gosh, so we went to the grocery store this morning really early and it wasn't busy, which was good. Of course, there was no toilet paper. I keep looking every time. We have toilet paper for probably 2 weeks at this point, but I would really like to get like a 6-pack just to be absolutely sure. But yeah, it's like, we should be good, but no, all that's left is ramen. I guess we're gonna have to get ramen. Oh, you know, there's very little fresh meat, but look, the potato chip aisle is full. We should get some of those. So yeah, it's gonna be a fat quarantine. Faux show. All right, what is it I don't like about this? It's too pointy at the top. And the crossbar is at too much of an angle, and the crossbar is too skinny, is how I'm feeling. Let's round you guys out a little bit. Make sure you guys are straight up and down. Okay, so let's fix the top of this sucker. I'm going to remove some points. I'm just going to pull you all the way down here. Remove you, remove you. Move you down. Straighten you out. Sometimes the letter is just building blocks and it ends up looking totally different than how it started. And that's fine. Scared we're going to run out of diapers and formula. Babies are potty training. Well, I mean, they have to learn eventually. But, I would not want to... Yeah, it's tough times right now. Our neighborhood has a surprisingly active Facebook group, and everybody is being really great about offering anything they have. So I think we'll be okay here where we are. I have heard a rumor that here in Arizona, restaurants are going to be closed to dining in starting tomorrow. They haven't announced it publicly yet. But, you know, we'll stick it out and we'll make it through, and hopefully we won't be ill. I mean, my parents are both in their 70s. I worry about them. I'm immune compromised because I have Crohn's disease, but thank goodness I am not on any medication right now. I've actually been in remission for a few years. So I don't think I'm necessarily in the higher risk group, but I don't want to chance it because my immune system is semi-broken. So I'm being as careful as I can. Yeah, restaurants closed, New England closing casinos. It's tough. It'll be interesting to see where we're all at in a month. And hopefully we got an early enough start. That's better. I don't necessarily love it still. I think it's really similar to the main A. I'm going to go buzz up there and take a look. Yeah, this is too steep. Still. Move you up, make you optically more sound. Move you up. I see you guys talking about embroidery digitizing, that stuff. I know some people are like, oh, hey, embroidery digitizing, I can do that. But I look at what you guys do and it blows my mind how intricate. Like when some of my fonts get digitized and I'm just like, wow, what? That is... How did you do that? It's black magic. I know that Hoop Mama has done a couple of just videos of her digitizing things, and it's crazy town. Let's see. I'm going to go 20 and 20 on this one. Did I already do you? I already did this B. I don't know why, but I did. I already did this C. Oh, it's because I'm up at the top. Oh, lordy. All right, down to the alternates. Says a lady, spending months on a font. Okay, but to be fair, when I take months on a font, I'm setting it aside and working on other things in the in-between times. It's not like every day for months on that one font. sometimes I'll draw the alphabet and then I'll just set it aside. I'm like, I don't even want to deal with this right now. Like I'm pulling over my folder here. You can see my inner workings. SVGs of alphabets for quiet time. So I just have a bunch of alphabets that I've drawn, and I'm not, I draw them, but I'm not excited by them at that time. So they just kind of sit. And maybe if I'm looking for something to do, I'll bring one of those out of the archives. Yeah, it's tedious when you want to get them right. You can auto-digitize stuff, but it looks like crap to me. Same. Right? Yeah, this is boring work. Nudging points around. But if I want the font to be as good as it should be, then I have to do it. And thank goodness I've found podcasts that I can listen to while I do this. I'm working my way through the My Dad Wrote a Porno podcast, which is incredibly funny and very obscene. You're watching this on TV. I hope it's super crisp. There's a lot of stuff stacked up right here. Let's see what's going on. Oh, we've got a handle here and a point here. So I'm going to remove you and remove you and remove you, but I don't want that to be a sharp corner. So I'm going to create a handle there and create a handle there and boop. Move this point up. All right, this point is too little. Boop. This one is kind of blorpish. And you know what? If I end up with two fonts like Blorp, I'm not mad, because I love Blorp. I love the name of Blorp too. I think Blorp is one of the few fonts where the first name I came up with was the name that it kept. Because for serious, who else is going to name a font Blorp? I don't have to worry about someone else using that name. I don't know if you guys hear the occasional little plink sounds. I don't know how to turn off the sounds of like when emails come in and stuff, so you're just gonna have to deal with it. Sometimes things go plink. This is a tough curve here because it's going from a very wide curve to very narrow, and I feel like it's a little pointy. You know what, maybe if I move this over inward a little bit, and we'll go down you a little bit there. Yeah, that's better. Better. Really, all the emails I'm receiving are from local restaurants telling me what precautions they're taking. Or, you know, the gas company saying, hey, we're not going to shut off anyone's gas during this trying time. Well, that's nice to know. All right. Ooh, this is huge. Look, this sucker's going to touch the baseline and the cap height. It is ginormous. I'm going to go 25 on each side here. And then the next letter is C, and it's 120 points off the baseline and 120 or so off the cap height. This is a weird font. Your gas company will totally cut you off. Oh, our gas company would have totally cut you off too, but both the gas company and the power company right now are like, oh, you know what? We're not going to cut anyone off right now. It's good. That would really suck to be at home, not working, and then have your gas or power go out. I've noticed that a couple of internet companies, Comcast and a couple others, are doing their free lowest tier for a lot of folks. That's great. Yeah, they probably will put laws in place eventually. We'll see how long it takes. What's going on here? You belong with you. You belong with you. Oh, I gave it a weirdo hunch there. Let's go out you a little more and you up a little more. Delete you. And you belong with you guys. The C's are tough. Not gonna lie. A lot of curves. C is for curves. Move you out to get you down. That's not bad. I'm gonna move you over a little and improve this curve. Yeah. You can grab as many nodes as you want by drawing a rectangle around. You grab, and then if you hold down Shift, you can make another rectangle and grab other ones. And then use your arrow keys. Everything selected. I tell you what. Once I started using these align tools up on the top here, saved me a ton of time, because I used to, no joke, if I had a node that was just off and I wanted to get it to be straight across, I would do Control and my arrow key and move it one spot at a time. So yeah, huge time saver using the straightening tools. Okay, this piece of music that this thing is playing is really weird. This is Pretzel, and we're going to move forward in Pretzel. Pretzel has music that is specifically for live streaming. It's all totally licensed. I can't play regular music because I would need to get a license for that. So normally I would be grooving to tunes from the 80s or some such. Cannot do that with you guys. But this just gives a little something in the background. That's kind of nice. And did we decide? We decided 20 and 20 on the round sides. I'm going to write that on Post-it note. Oh, Post-it notes. Missy Myers' best friend. Do I ever make any physical projects, like anything crafty? Funny thing, normally no. But this year, for 2020, I'm learning how to paint. So I work on fonts in the morning, and then in the afternoon, I shut myself up back in the back bedroom to keep the cats away. And I have a little desk and easel and shelves and stuff back there. And I'm painting. So I'm actually posting those on Instagram, which, like everything else, my Instagram is Geek Missy, if you want to see what I'm painting. And yeah, it has been a long time since I've done physical crafts, and it's really nice. So much of what I do is digital, and it's still creative, but there's just something about having your hands on stuff and getting dirty, and glue sticks, and not that I'm using glue sticks while I paint. Glue sticks just comes to mind as a fun thing to use. Will there be a glow forge in my future? Oh my goodness, I don't think so. Not in my near future anyway. If I could come up with something I wanted to make to sell, maybe. But I am a huge introvert. I basically social distance every day. So the thought of like going out and selling at a craft fair or something, it just gives me shivers up and down my spine. It's not something I would want to do. I mean, if I ever get good enough at painting to sell, I'll sell those all on Etsy, you know? I mean, I just, I don't know. Hi, what's up? Oh, kitty sniffing the microphone. What's up, kitten? What you doing, lady? That's Flapjack's voice. Do you guys do voices for your pets? I can't be the only one. So that's Flapjack. Hey, lady, what are you doing? What are you doing? She's a pest. Lady, what are you doing? And then Cheddar, because Cheddar's from Florida, she is an old Southern lady. And she's oh, Flapjack. Oh, leave me alone, Flappy Cat. Stop what you're doing. Don't be batting at me. Orange lady, I love you. So yeah, that's half of the dialogue that happens in our house is not even between me and my husband. It is between the cats, and we're just speaking on their behalf. Because we're weird, yes, exactly like Kristoff and Sven. Which I guess I should see Frozen 2. It's on the Disney Plus. I guess I should see it. I didn't really enjoy the first one. If I put Frozen and Tangled up against each other, it's Tangled all the way for me. All right, this E, that's ugly. That's ugly, is what I'm saying. Let's see what I can do to fix that. I don't even know if it's salvageable, honestly. So what I'm doing right now is I'm looking at my other letters, and I'm trying to see if I can cannibalize any of them. Let's look at the F. You know what? The top of the F isn't bad. So I'm going to grab this, copy. I'm just going to delete this whole E. I think it's terrible. Paste the F in. I'm going to tilt it a bit. And what do I have that can do my bottom stroke there? Dirty. I'm going to go grab, way up at the top, I'm going to grab the underscore. That's just a good piece to work with. All right, so I'm going to shorten it, and I'm going to rotate it, and I'm going to merge these two shapes together, and then clean it up. Okay, straighten you out. See, this is where stuff really gets interesting. I'm going to build this letter from scratch because I hated the other one. Get rid of you and do that and that. And you know what? Let's make this a curve and not a point. So I'm going to make a couple handles. Get them where I kind of want. And then put the points in there. A little too pointy and a little too long. So we'll fix both of those issues. And you know what? I think the uppercase E, let's see, regular uppercase E, the bar in the middle is in the middle. But I think for this one, I made the bar high, so I'm going to make the bar low on this guy. So we're going to pull you all the way down here. Because if you're going to do a bunch of letters that are alternates, you want to give variety. You're too pointy. Shorten you and shorten you. Bring you down a little. And you out and up. To kind of make it narrower going into a fatter end. Oh, look at that. Added point. Didn't mean to. Happens all the time. You click anywhere on an outline where there isn't a point already, and it'll add one. Which is sometimes great, and sometimes it's like, no, don't put that there. Why did you do that? And sometimes when you're not looking at your arrow keys, you hit the up arrow instead of the down arrow. Really, probably the key I hit the most is Control Z to undo. All right, I'm gonna move that aside. Let's see how it looks here. Oh, see that bottom? No, not gonna work. Coming up with font names, you've done a generator and named it after your cats. How else have you come up with font names? So it's kinda, a lot of it is the feeling I get when using it. So oftentimes, I'm at the point of making the promo images and I don't have a name yet. And in the making of the promo images, I get a real good feel for the font, for its vibe. Now I want to make this smaller. So then I kind of like, and also when you're making the promo images, you get a feel as well for what letters really work together well. And so I might get to a point where I'm like, okay, this font is a real happy and cheerful font, and I definitely know that I want the letter H to be in the name because I think it's a really cool H. And I have a ligature for, let's say, LT. And I really want that in because it looks great. So then I just kind of try to brainstorm, well, what words have either an H or an LT, like, you know, okay, halt or health. But, you know, maybe those don't fit the happy and cheerful. So it's a lot of searching. I have a rhyming dictionary at the ready. I have a couple of Scrabble word finders that I use where I can say, hey, I'm looking for a word that has the letters ST next to each other. And I want it to be maybe a word that's fewer than 8 letters, because I like to have shorter names, if I can. Shorter names are easy to remember, they're easier to say. I have a cat that's meowing, so please hold one moment. I'll be right back. And back. So Cheddar the cat has a set of sponge balls toys, and she just likes to walk around the house with one in her mouth, meowing like it's the saddest time ever. It's the weirdest thing. And you just have to go find her and say, hey kiddo, what's going on? And she'll drop the ball and come trotting over and be like, hey, how you doing? Cats, man, they're weird. That's better. It's not great, but it's better. All right, I'm looking at ending the stream at 11. That's 7 minutes left here. If anyone else has questions, comments, thoughts. Right? Pets. Crazy. Crazy little animals. I couldn't do a dog. They're too needy for me. Am I doing more of these? Yeah. It's something to do while we're all trapped in our houses. So I'll probably do I'm thinking I'll probably do most mornings this week. What did I started this around 9 and 9 to 11? I think that's, yeah, I like that. I'll probably roll with 9 to 11 for the most part. That's 9 to 11 Central, Mountain Standard Time. Okay, time zones. Since I moved to Arizona, time zones mess me up. And it's not because of us, it's because of all y'all out there. All you people with your daylight saving time, because we don't do it here. So we are Mountain Standard Time year round. And then I have to be like, oh, okay, so you guys just changed your clocks. So for the next few months, we're aligned with Pacific Time. And I'm 3 hours off from Eastern, but then during the winter I'm 2 hours off from Eastern, and we're an hour ahead of Pacific. It's nutty. I wish you could all stop daylight saving time the way we did here. It's so terrible. It messes everyone up. I mean, I feel like it was something we initially created for wartime or whatever, and maybe it's not needed anymore. I don't know. Oh, ooh, you're weird. Okay, so here we're going from curving this way to curving in the opposite direction. And I wonder if I just nudge you up. That's not the worst curve in the world. I'm going to straighten that out. I don't hate it. I'm going to add an extra point in here just to do a little fine adjustments. G is right up there with C. Tough curves. Okay, I don't need two of you guys here. You two go that way. Delete. I'll have to see what other music channels I have available on this pretzel music thing. I picked ambient because I didn't think there would be any lyrics, and yes, there have not been any lyrics, which is great. But we'll see if there's anything else non-lyric. I want to go that way a little. Gee, mister. All right. Oh, I think we're going to have time to squeeze in this really ugly H. Whoo, boy. I don't like this one. I don't like this one at all. It's pointy at the top, lumpy at the bottom. Weird and awkward. Let's be wacky. I'm going to steal the number sign. see what I can do with that to make an H. Move this over here. Oh boy, I don't know. Okay, we're going to use the knife. We haven't used the knife yet. I'm going to chop through there so that I can remove these points and these points and these points, and immediately I have an H shape. Let's move you in. Move your points up. Boop. Burp. Nope. There. Okay. Down a little. Over a little. Yeah, you could be a little wider. I'm going to take that entire piece out there. Don't need you. Don't need you. Okay, we'll pull you a little further over. I'm going to delete you because you're ugly. Let's maybe shorten you a little bit. Move all y'all's over. Get rid of you. Move you. Move you. Move you back a little bit. Move you over. And you too. To make it more consistent with the angle that's coming down here. Move you over just a skosh. Alright, we're a little lumpy right here. I'm actually going to delete my point, although I'll need one there later. I'll let you create a fresh one. No, that's still kind of wonky there. Move you over and you up. Make you a little taller. You need to come down. Yeah, that's okay. Go in a little there. And make you a little smoother. I've gone into whispering to myself. I talk to myself all the time. So this is really not much different than usual. All right, I'm going to stick with that. And our straight sides were 30. And I'll do 25 there because I've got to bump out. That's that H. Much better. You know what? I want this side to be wider. Burp. 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 And bump you back out to 30. All right, friends. I'm gonna shut the stream down and let's do this again tomorrow. I might work on this a little in my off time, but what's left at this point? I have to clean up lowercase I through the second alternate ampersand because yes, I have two alternate ampersands in here. I have a few extras like my set of arrows here. I've made the individual parts. It's easier to clean up parts and then combine them afterward. Like when I do the pound sign, and sorry you missed this, I actually drew just 2 lines horizontal and 2 lines vertical. Cleaned them all up separately and then merged them together because if you don't, there's just a lot of nooks and crannies and corners in that sucker. So, okay, cleaning up, I onward. Doing these characters in here, getting spacing set correctly for everybody now that I know what my spacing needs to be, creating my accented characters, and then from there I will move on to kerning, maybe, actually probably making ligatures if I'm going to make any. And I probably will, because I like to get everything else done and then launch into kerning all on its own. So I'm kerning everybody. So I'm kerning the alternates with the regular characters. So I'm kerning the ligatures with the regular characters. I don't want to have to come back and do a second kerning pass or just leave those unkerned. All right, still a lot of work to do, and that's my own darn fault for doing 2 full sets of alternates and a full set of alternate numbers. Why do I do this to myself? I don't know. I'm nuts. All right. Thanks for joining me. See you possibly tomorrow. Peace out, Cub Scout.